Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. There you go, right down there. If you want to be among the first to hear my weekly takes, NFL, college football, more, right there. Streaming, Netflix takes over. Retail, Amazon takes over. Theme parks, Disney takes over. All those things were up for grabs at some point in the process, right? It doesn't matter if it's banking or it's football. If you look at Brady, Belichick, Mahomes, and Andy Reid, it's Tiger in his 12-year run. Mickelson's got 6 more majors without Tiger. And before people say, well, Lamar can't do this, or Kyle Shanahan can't do this. We are looking. Brady and Mahomes have just put a lot of people on the shelf. I mean, think about this. What did Big Ben do his last 8-10 years? He just disappeared into the ether. Yeah. And he had great defenses and great receivers. And Le'Veon Bell I feel bad for the sport because, I watched Brady win so many close games over more talented Ravens teams or a more talented Bronco team. I look at this Kansas City team, it's almost discouraging because everybody around the team's going, well, shit, they don't even have a number 1 receiver. I mean, Rice really, to me, feels like a great 2, but can be a 1. If I said to you, I liked what Baltimore did this year, I don't know. I look at football right now. It would not shock me if both of these teams are back. Big squishes average.
You know the thing I've always admired about Tom Brady, about Tiger in his prime, about great people in business is no matter how much money, no matter how much success they have, the ability to maintain the discipline of what got you there, because the wind always blows the strongest at the top of the mountain, right?
Yeah.
And that's what Tiger and I would say Brady defined over their careers, is their work ethic after unlimited money, unlimited success, unlimited fame. Everyone that were ever around them was it was insane how hard they worked. And that gets back to Mahomes. I have seen it with Andy. He's the hardest working guy I've ever seen. He's like a machine. But it doesn't matter a lot of coaches work hard. You have to have it in your players. And I think one thing when you have Patrick Mahomes, who's wired pretty clearly now, he'd already won a couple. And the way he turned it on this season after kind of going through the mud against the Raiders on that Christmas Day game, I think was pretty definitive. This is the most incredible stretch of his career, right? This is the defining moment of we've seen all the crazy throws. We've seen the no-look passes. We've seen the 50-yard bombs. We know he's a champion. But when you win it like this, when everyone's gunning for you, and for the first time, a lot of the money was on the Chiefs, right? I mean, the books took a bath today. But the last 2 games, a lot of people rightfully so. And I'm telling you, the Chiefs, I was told that they thought that Baltimore defense is the best unit that they had faced over this run. Top to bottom, just that defense, right? So them getting past that group, it was obviously they knew the Niners were really good. I mean, they expected they technically were the underdog in this game. But that ability to be unfazed after winning a championship and to maintain that level of work ethic is how you, Michael Jordan just wanted more. Tiger wanted. A lot of guys don't. A lot of guys are yeah, cool. I've won. I'm super rich. Shit, I'll just go kick it.
John, I was told this years ago, how do you handle success? Everybody handles losing the same way. They're pissed and they work harder. How do you handle success? A lot of guys don't handle it well. A lot of people, in society, a stockbroker has a good year, he blows the money. You look up 2 years, he's just not putting the effort in. So to me, you've had success. Look at you work hard. It drives you. A lot of people in my business, in football, they have some brief success and they cash out. They get their Bentley, they get their second home. They got $28 million in the bank. You're a football player, take care of your mom, whatever. Really the 2 defining characteristics of most great anything, Tiger, MJ, is a resiliency. I tell my kids all the time, go watch that Michael Jordan 10-part documentary. Best looking player, best coach, best number 2, Robin. It was hard. He was battling his GM, his owner, Dennis Rodman. It's hard. He was getting tackled by the Pistons and the Celtics. Resiliency. I mean, Mahomes has had to overcome two offensive line rebuilds. He's got a father that's had some embarrassing public moments, a brother that's fairly high maintenance. I mean, people are coming at
A
him.
wife who likes the limelight now.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So it's Mahomes has shown an amazing resilience to social life, family life, fame. It's just incredibly resilient. Multiple rebuilds, O line, receiving core. He just can handle it. And another thing is, I mean, he makes $45 million a year endorsements. I've been told more than that. It used to be 20 years ago, football players. I remember watching Donovan McNabb get a soup commercial. I was like, oh, I've never seen an NFL guy get a commercial outside of like a local truck dealer. The guy's making 45, 55 million a year in endorsements. And it's important to him. He wants to be respected. But I think the two great things are resiliency and how do you handle winning? And, you party, you have a great weekend, and then you get back to effing work 4 days later. And that seems, there's this, I always hear this, this toxic masculinity, this sort of toxic people who are obsessed with working. That's what all the great people do in every industry. It's a defining trait.
Well, I get asked so much now that I do this is like advice. And my number one advice always is you got to find what you like doing because you're going to end up working so much that it's so much easier to work hard when you like what you're doing. And I think this speaks to why Patrick Mahomes, a lot of the great athletes, Mahomes, Brady, Tiger, they loved their sport. Andy Reid if football was crack, he'd be a crack addict. He loves football. Like it's his life. It means
it's like Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, most coaches, right? Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, they are addicted to football. You could not work the hours you have to work without loving it. That's why when I worked in the NFL, it's like, I like other sports. I like doing other. I like business. There's other elements that I don't like it as much as they do. Brett Veach is addicted to football, and I think this speaks to when the combine comes around and the draft, the character of the guys. Because do you think McDuffie's going to try any less harder? No, super high character guy. They feel very Kelsey all these years. But the Kelsey brothers are great examples. How much they enjoy playing football. Most of football is not the Super Bowl. It's for the next 9 months, working out, OTAs, training, eating right, not doing things, turning things down because you gotta train, you gotta work. You get such a small, for all the money you have $90 million. That's the other thing. So he's making 45 on the field, 45 off. He's 27, 28. 99.9% of humans would take the foot off the gas. It's human nature. It doesn't feel he's phased at all by it. And a lot of these guys, I give a lot of you, Josh Allen, Lamar. I think it's impressive for all the top players in the NFL. I think the league, and I've always defended this, the percentage of guys that get in trouble, the league is full of the highest character, hardest working. If they weren't in the NFL, they would be so successful in whatever they were doing.
I thought about that. I've thought about that before. In most pro leagues, but I mean the NFL is very much a domestic league. How lucky is this league? It was such a great story. A seventh rounder and then Mahomes. How lucky is this league? If you said, and I've defended Lamar Jackson on this, that kid gets so pissed when he loses. He wants it so bad. He wants it so bad. But think about the quarterbacks in the league now. The top ones, Josh Allen, Herbert, Mahomes, Lamar, Jalen Hurts, like
Burrow,
Trevor Lawrence, like they're just great guys. And then the
Dak,
guys
Cousins, that kind of crew.
And then you get these stories like, Brock Purdy. There's so many different ways to be a quarterback in this league now. And the great thing about Brock Purdy is that he'll get guys drafted. I mean, people will start taking 6th and 7th round quarterbacks because it's like, I thought Russell Wilson got Kyler Murray, Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield. It's like, yeah, they're a little short. Is that I think the league's really lucky. And now, and that's not to say the NBA has bad guys, but a lot of their greatest players, their more mature players, are international players because they play with men. When these kids are like 15, 16, they play with men. You have to grow up very quickly. Our domestic players, it's more of an AAU, a little more juvenile basketball operation than like international basketball. So many of the great players in the NBA, though great people, they're international players. Our guys, you watch them for 3 or 4 years. They come into this league. There's just not many. There's not many knuckleheads. There's
No.
good
Well,
guys.
you get weeded out so fast because how hard it is. You really do,
That's a
because
good point.
the majority of the week is not playing. Playing's easy. Like if baseball, you get to play every day. In basketball, you play every other day. Unless you're a star, then you play once a week. In football, you get one game. And that's the fun part. Ray Lewis, you pay me Monday through Saturday, Sundays are for free. The games are fun, but most of it is not. You're not just lifting, you're lifting hard. The
Hard.
eating, the discipline of food. If you're a big guy, if you ever play with the older offensive lineman, you're like, wait, you played offensive line in the league? He weighs like 240. He's like, yeah, I used to have to eat 10,000 calories a day during training. Like, it's not easy to do that. Jason Kelsey is a good example. He's naturally probably 260 pounds, but he has to carry that 300. You have to maintain that with food. It's not always fun. Like, I like to eat, but not on that level. It's
Yeah.
a very, very, and then the physical element of the sport. I mean, you just get how many times a day? I know I held my breath half the Niners when they got tackled. Every time
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey goes down, I'm like, God, I hope he gets up. Debo Samuel, like, God, I hope he gets, because the collisions in this game. I saw Louis Riddick talking about this week. He said that, back when they played in the 80s and 90s of John Lynch days, it was obviously much more physical and much more reckless. But guys weren't, the training was a lot different. There was drinking, and it's just, now you were much more likely to get killed. Nowadays, the training, I mean, all these guys are the lean muscle mass they have. I mean, they're just purely muscle, and they've never been faster. So if they didn't regulate the hits out of the game, I mean, you would have some serious injuries, because there are collisions now. I love physical football. I grew up on that type of football, and I miss it sometimes. The game is still, when it matters, really physical. The level
Oh
in which
yeah.
these corners and safeties all tackle, they all wait for the combine. How many DBs, wide receivers, running backs, and safeties don't run 4.4 or 4.5? If you run 4.55, we're like, hey, slow. Back in the day, a lot of guys playing in the NFL were running 4.7. That difference, when you factor in a little extra muscle mass and you're running from 4.7 to 4.48, that collision hits a little harder. And I miss those days, but I do think in the biggest games, this league is still about physicality and tackling.